What's up, everyone? Welcome into episode 4 of the Bat Flip, talking about Tennessee baseball and their huge series win on the road against Alabama. I'm Landon Raby. With me, Dylan Taylor. I'm going to mention our sponsors real quick before we get going. Tennessee Tap House, Hound Dogs, and Blue Water Climate Control. Got a little clip for you this time from Blue Water Climate Control to check them out.
People always ask, where did we get the name Blue Water Climate Control? When a Navy ship casts off lines, exits the harbor, and loses sight of land, that's blue water sailing. It takes a team of people to do that. Tireless work, focus, and attention to detail. So much of starting a business is just like that. After it's done, you get filled with deep satisfaction for accomplishing something. And it's quickly followed by, now the real work begins. We're Blue Water Climate Control.
All right, guys, go check them out. Also, go check out our network volunteer roadshow. Job of making this show possible. Tennessee getting the job done on the road. It wasn't pretty all weekend, but you grinded out another series win, so it's hard to really nitpick. That we're going to talk about on some stuff they need to improve on. But again, when you're winning in the SEC, you've won 3 straight SEC series, your first 3 since 2001. You've won your first 2 road series in the SEC since 2005. You're 6-0 in extra innings games dating back to 2019. You're up to number 4 in the country in the coaches poll, number 6 with D1 baseball. It's just really hard to really nitpick, but it's good to be a Vol. You went on the road. There was great performances. Tennessee had a bunch of contributors from a bunch of different guys, and so let's Dylan. I'll start with you. What was your takeaway? Maybe notes from this weekend overall.
It's good to beat Bama in anything. I mean, especially these days. We've had football's been around for a while now, but now Nate Oates has basketball rolling. It's kind of what we talked about before. You knew this was going to be a tough series. Like, I know we had some comments on another sweep, but we knew it was going to be tough going down to Tuscaloosa. Still think we've got the better home field environment. But yeah, any SEC series on the road, it's going to be a tough one to not only win but sweep nonetheless. I mean, the bats were live for most of the weekend. For the most part, the pitching struggled a little bit. I mean, you saw Tidwell kind of hit his little bit of a rough patch. Really, the first stretch we've seen from him. But I mean, it's like we said before. It just speaks to this team that your freshman has his kind of first rough moment there, and everybody picks up around him. So it's kind of what we've seen all year from this team. I don't think we saw anything really different. It's just that, I mean, the rankings show it too, that this team is kind of consensus top 5 right now. And they're playing like a top 5 team for a team that's had some guys injured too. So I think I saw today Jackson Greer is going to be back for this weekend series. So getting healthier, I mean, that can only help. So no complaints from me. I mean, the first game was tough to lose. Kind of had you worried there for a second, but yeah, like you said, not anything to complain about from me really.
Yeah, you mentioned you dropped that first game, and that kind of sets the whole weekend. So when Tennessee has their back against the wall, I don't think it phases them. I don't think it phases a guy like Drew Gilbert, who's hit some walk-offs. Drew Beck's hit a walk-off home run. That this team just doesn't seem to really, when the pressure's on, they don't seem to fold. They seem to take it on pretty well. And, that showed this weekend with getting that win on Saturday in 11 innings, scoring 4 runs in the 11th. You got some big pitching performances. You mentioned Blade Tidwell got in a little trouble. Chad Dallas got a little bit of trouble as well. And Will Heflin looked like your best pitcher or best starting pitcher this weekend. And, he was pretty dominant. And then Camden Sewell actually got the win for the game. And he was dominant. I think he pitched 3 and 2/3 innings. Only gave up, I think, 1 hit and closed that thing out for Tennessee. But you just had a lot of different guys kind of have show out throughout the weekend. You had Connor Pavoloni had a big game on Saturday. Luke Lipsius had a big game on Sunday. I mentioned Camden Sewell, Will Heflin. Sean Hunley was huge on Sunday coming in the ninth. He just seems to be the Iceman out of the pen. When Tennessee really needs somebody to shut an opposing team down, he's your guy. Coming in with one out, runners on second and third, and getting that win on Sunday for the series was huge. So any more kind of guys really stick out to you this past weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably get into it with the MVP for the weekend, but how about Logan Steinster? I mean, my goodness, the dude, you're kind of worried there with Liam Spence being down. I mean, not only your best hitter, but really the best hitter in the conference so far from a lot of numbers. I know you were tweeting out some today. Is he tied for first in the SEC with hits, up there in average? I mean, he's been your rock really for all year. So seeing him go down, that's never good. But I mean, Steinster's kind of one of those guys we mentioned on one of the first shows. You have a couple of those guys that are pushing for a starting spot. Any other team, they're probably in a starting spot. And he showed why today. I mean, he showed why Liam Spence has had to be on fire for most of the year because he's had Steinster behind him this whole time. So I mean, not really any drop off there. He was on fire all weekend. So yeah, that was a guy that was sticking out, just obvious in my mind.
Yeah, and batting ninth. He went 5 for 12 in his last 3 games. So that's Saturday, Sunday, and also that the midweek game against Eastern Kentucky with 4 RBIs. But it wasn't like it was just singles. He hit 2 doubles and a triple in those 3 games. So yeah, just firing on all cylinders, really making the most out of his appearance. And you don't like to see a guy like Liam Spence hurt at all, but it seems like he was still able to hit on Sunday or Saturday and Sunday, and it just goes to show you, even at not 100%, he's still one of the best players on this baseball team, and that showed. I think he was 5 for 9 on the weekend with 1 RBI and 5 walks. I mean, any time that you miss maybe the first batter of a series, Liam Spence is usually on base. When you turn on the TV, you're like, oh crap, Tennessee's playing. Liam Spence is usually always on base.
He's already there.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just kind of the player he is. You mentioned he's tied for second or tied for first in hits in the SEC, first in batting average, first in on base percentage. So just been Tennessee's rock. That was a good analogy that you used this whole entire season from a guy that batted ninth last year for the majority of the year. For him to take that big of a leap in year 2 on Rocky Top is pretty special.
Yeah, I mean I guess the other thing sticks out is the pitching just wasn't really there, but it's kind of like we said before. I mean, that would be getting into the nitpicking. It's awesome to see your lineup performing like this. That was kind of the thing we wondered. You see 24 runs against what was it, Pine Bluff. I mean, against the non-conference opponents, you're seeing all these outlandish scores, and it just makes me so happy that we're still doing this in SEC play too. There hasn't been a drop off yet. That was just the other thing that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I was super impressed with the middle of the lineup on Sunday. They combined to go 10 for 15 with 6 RBIs and 5 walks between the 4 of them. That's Rucker, Gilbert, Beck, and Lipsius. So they had a really good day at the plate. Were huge in that. Had a big hand in that win on Sunday. But yeah, like you mentioned, we didn't play. Like, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't perfect. The pitching kind of struggled a little bit, but you're still able to grind out a series win on the road in the SEC, and that's gotta stand for something. So I'm super excited about this team. Super excited about this weekend against Florida. I know we're going to get into it a little bit here later, but man, I'm super excited about the atmosphere. Legends Lindsey Nelson, I'm sure, are going to be in attendance. They're going to be wild. But I think it's just good for this program to welcome a team like Florida. And then the next weekend you get Vanderbilt. A team with that caliber of players coming into Knoxville. I think that's huge for the program. And, I continue – I think they're going to continue to build on what they're building in Knoxville. So, MVP time. Who you got for MVP of the weekend?
Ooh, I mentioned him earlier. I'd probably go Steenstra. I mean, you could
Okay.
go him, Spence. Not anybody from the staff, really. I think you mentioned Will Heflin was probably your best one from the week or from the weekend. That's not a knock against Will Heflin, but with the arms on the staff, you kind of want other guys to step up. You don't want him to be in the position where he's got to be the stud for you. Yeah, I mean, you could go Spence, Steenstra. I'd probably go Steenstra just because I don't know that we win that series without Logan Steinster this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with that. I mean, there's a lot of guys like you could probably put in this, give this award to, because you get so many guys that can produce. Trey Lipscomb and Logan Steinster had a really good midweek game against Eastern Kentucky. You got a lot of contributors in that game. You pitched 9 different pitchers. So that's really good to see, getting a lot of those guys some work, getting some guys back that you haven't had with Will Mabry and Jason Rackers, who we haven't seen since Arkansas Pine Bluff. Getting them back, seeing them on the mound was huge. I think for Tennessee to kind of build on that bullpen a little bit. Maybe they can help out in some capacity. Maybe not this week, but later on down the road, I think they're going to be contributors for this Tennessee team. MVP for me, I'm going to go with. I think MVP of the season for me right now has probably changed a little bit. I think Drew Gilbert's up there, but I think it's hard to pass up on Liam Spence right now.
Yeah.
I think he just fielding wise and his bat and being on top of SEC stat categories, it's hard for me to really pass up on Liam Spence. But this weekend, I'm going to go Jordan Beck, getting back at it. He was 5 for 11 on the series, 4 RBIs, 3 walks. I thought his approach was a lot better this weekend. He seemed more patient and really got back on. I think he's leading the team in RBIs again. I think he was tied up with Drew Gilbert heading in the weekend, and he's solidified himself as a leader with, I think, 33 RBIs currently.
Yeah, I mean, was anybody hotter to start the season there for a while than Jordan Beck? I mean, him and Spence have really been the two all year, but yeah, it's awesome to see he's back, because I don't know, it's something about when Jordan. It probably should be Liam Spence, but it's something about, to me, when Jordan Beck comes up, you feel like he's hitting it hard somewhere. And even during his slump, I know he had problems with a few Ks there, but it was like he was just hitting it hard right at people. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, he's just the guy in the lineup that when he comes up, there's always one guy that you think, okay, he's either maybe not necessarily going to go yard, but he's somebody that's going to hit it hard and get a rally started. It probably should be Spence, like you said, but just mentally for me, I don't know why it's him, but it is. Maybe it's all the Twitter content that I saw from the one walk off, but that's just stuck in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely worries an opposing team. You see guys like that have that kind of power. Aaron Judge is one that comes to mind. Sorry that I'm a little bit of a Yankees
Yeah,
fan,
the
but
Yankee fan.
but I mean, he's a guy that, like, anytime he could go yard or really start something. So you never want to see, like, especially if you're a pitcher in trouble, you never want to see a guy like Jordan Beck come to the plate. And yeah, I think they have a lot of guys that can bring stuff to the table like that. Tony Vitello mentioned that Tennessee isn't even playing their best baseball right now. That was kind of obvious, because you come out of the weekend thinking, man, we could have played a lot better. But they have some guys that have kind of struggled this season, guys that they really thought would be really good on this roster. Guys like Connor Pavoloni, Max
Yeah.
Ferguson, that were preseason All-Americans, just haven't really got the start they wanted. But if those guys get going and you keep the production up from the rest of the squad, I think Tennessee has a consensus top 5 team. And I think they could go toe-to-toe with anybody else in the country. That's a tough task against Vanderbilt, coming in with Leiter and Rocker, but I'm still excited about it. I'm not
I'm
like
pumped. So pumped.
I'm not like in previous years where it's like, oh crap, Vanderbilt's coming to town.
And you can tell. I mean, you mentioned the excitement earlier, and we're sitting here. I can't stop smiling thinking about the Vanderbilt series, because I wanted to make the trip up there. But you can the excitement's reflected in the ticket prices right now. I mean, when's the last time? When's the last time you've seen Tennessee baseball ticket prices at I mean, you're seeing them on Vivid Seats, like third-party places for at least. I mean, you can't find them under $100 right now. I see that, and I think a Tennessee football game. But yeah, I mean, I
I
I
can't
don't know
even
that
get
I've
a
ever.
media pass. I can get one
Yeah,
media pass this weekend, and that's it.
yeah.
I
I've
wanted
never.
one for all 3 games. I can only get one for one game because of the attention this baseball program's getting. And you welcome a power like Florida this weekend. It's definitely hard. It's hard to do. And I think Tony Vitello said in his press conference earlier today that his parents are coming to the game, but with ticket prices, he might just
Yeah,
tell them to stay at home.
yeah. Somebody on Twitter too, I saw, said that when they were a student, I don't know, he's probably 10 to 15 years ago, just guessing, maybe more than that. I don't know, but they said they had to give students T-shirts for them to come to the game, and a lot of them would just grab the T-shirt and then go home. And now, I mean, these SEC series, you're seeing tickets get up to $200 for some of them. So I mean, it's just reflective of what's going on and the energy this team's bringing.
Absolutely. Real quick, we want to get another word in from Blue Water Climate Control before we head on to what we need to fix. Here you go.
Hello, this is Jeremy from Blue Water Climate Control. I grew up in Tennessee, and when I was 9 years old, the World's Fair came to Knoxville. I was in awe of the Sun Sphere. I dreamed of living in Knoxville. To me, it was the center of the world. After 24 years in the Navy, I've been around the world and visited dozens of countries. My family has moved all over. Now here we are running Blue Water Climate Control right here in Knoxville, the dream I had when I was just 9 years old. Blue Water Climate Control, veteran service, superior value.
All right, we're back. Let's get into what we need to fix. What's something that it really is kind of grinding gears a little bit. Again, we're nitpicking because you're 3-0 in SEC series, so it's hard to really dig at a team. But let's dig a little bit and something that really needs to get fixed going into this series this weekend.
I mind we mentioned it earlier. It's, to me, it's got to be Pav and Ferguson getting them going. I mean, I've got it pulled up. I mean, Pav's hitting 215 on the year, and Ferguson's just barely beating him at 220. It it hurts for Pav, but I think it hurts even more for Ferguson just because of the potential he has on the bases too. I mean, a guy that's hitting 220 like that, you've got to get that up just because we've seen. I mean, he was leading the team in steals. He may still be leading the team in steals, and he's only hitting 220. So just think if he's up there, not even leading the team, but just sitting 270, 280, getting on base more. I mean that's just another threat that this offense can bring. Pav, I mean, he does a solid job behind the plate. He's willing to put his body on the line. I think we've seen 3 or 4 times this year now that he's got up limping after a slide or something like that. So I mean, the heart's there for him, but you've got to get more production. I mean, like we said, it's the 2 preseason All-Americans, Golden Spikes, watch list, all of this. I mean, it's something that you've got to get going. But also, when I think about that, I'm like, man, we're sitting here on April, what is it, 9th, April 8th, April 9th, and we're 25-5. I mean, we're 25-5. We're tied for the lead in the SEC East. We're number 4 team, number 6 team, no matter how you look at it in the country, and are arguably coming into the season, our 2 best players are hitting 215 and 220. So I'm not even saying both of them have to go on a hot streak at the same time or separate times. You just got to get them going a little bit, and that's going to help your team immensely.
Yeah, I think it'll be huge down the stretch if you're able to get them going at some point. Because you have the guys that can, make up for it a little bit, but when you're talking about postseason play and grinding out, and moving on to the next round, it's you got to have different guys step up. I mentioned Pav had a good game on Saturday. I think he was 2 for 3 with a couple RBIs. So I mean, you need that production consistently. I'm not saying he has to do it every game, but I think it needs to be. Obviously, 218 is not where the kid wants to be. You mentioned 25-5. That's the best record through 30 games that Tennessee's had since 2004. So not Tennessee went to the College World Series in 2005, so it was better than that team. To put a little bit more recent perspective, Tennessee was 22-8 in 30 games in 2019, and that team was one game away from heading to a super regional. So I mean, I think this team is special. Going with what I need to see fixed a little bit, I think it's got to be you're leaving way too many runners on. You do a great job of making it hard on teams because you don't walk a lot of people, but and you draw a lot of walks. We drew 24 this weekend, and Alabama only drew 8. So you had 16 more base runners than Alabama just on walks. That doesn't even count hits. They gave you 16 more base runners, and it's still like every game was pretty tight. I think you loaded the bases probably up to 10 times. I don't know the exact number, but it just seems, yeah, Tennessee just did not get the runs in they would have liked when you have the bases juice like that. So I think we're 7 for 35 with runners in scoring position. You definitely want to see that rise a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of nitpicking a little bit. Again, you won the series, so it's hard to really complain about not scoring enough runs. But Tennessee would definitely like to put some games away a lot quicker if they're able to get more runners across the plate.
Yeah, I see that comment just came in. 5 or 6 Vols still standing on the bags in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, I mean it's a good. I feel like it's been a recurring theme. I know we've mentioned it before, leaving guys on base. It's good that you're getting them on base, but yeah, that I feel like a game like Friday that you lose that close and you feel like you had opportunity after opportunity. Those are the ones that, I mean, if you lose, you got beat. Like you lose by 5 or 6 runs, but the ones where you're losing close games, and you can look back and say, hey, in the 3rd inning we had 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. 5th inning we had bases loaded. Yeah, I mean that's the one that, like we said, we're not making any big complaints here, but that's the one that it seems to be kind of the recurring theme for the year.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a real quick comment. He said, Landon, the Vols have a good team, but Vandy is just one class better. And Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State Bulldogs are also waiting in the wings. Will not be easy for the Vols. I agree. I don't think it's going to be easy. I mean, you've seen these past 3 series haven't been easy for Tennessee. But the fact that they keep grinding out wins, I think, says a lot about this baseball team. And Tony Vitello mentioned that they're not playing their best ball right now. So if you're able to get these preseason All-Americans playing like preseason All-Americans, I think Tennessee could give Vanderbilt a shot. And it's a grind. I mean, Ole Miss lost the series. Florida lost. They got swept by South Carolina, and then they go and beat Ole Miss 2-1.
Yeah.
So I think you'll get to see a lot from this baseball team this weekend, kind of see where exactly they're at. But yeah, like I'm super excited. One other thing I want to mention, just to get fixed a little bit, is errors. Tennessee kind of struggled a little bit. I know a lot of that had to do with Liam Spence not being at shortstop, and I think they had a couple errors at the shortstop position. But they've only had 27 on the year. But 5 this weekend is definitely not what you want to have, especially in close games like that. So yeah, that's something else I want to see fixed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's kind of I won't say it's exactly like football just because of the reign of success Alabama's had, but I mean Vanderbilt. I mean, you kind of have to say they're one class better because until they get beaten, I mean, they are. It's kind of the scenario of if you don't like it, beat them. So I mean, yeah, Ole Miss. I love watching Ole Miss play. I mean, obviously, I want Tennessee to sweep them every time we play them, but Ole Miss is just a fun team to watch. I mean, Arkansas is always up there. Mississippi State's solid, but yeah, I mean, after Vandy, I mean, I think we can beat Vandy personally. I don't think that. I don't think they've got anything really just overpowering. I mean, you see all these insane stats from Rocker and Leiter, and I mean, you're probably looking at maybe 2 of the top 3 picks in the next draft there. So I mean, there's reason for concern, but I just go back to when I see that comment, I just go back to the quote after the LSU series. I mean, it was a few years ago. It's, oh crap, we're going to LSU. We're down in Louisiana playing the Tigers right now, and now it's just, hey, we're going to play baseball, and there's not really that mental hurdle. Now, you've got over it against, it seems like, every other team. Can you get over it against Vanderbilt? I think we can. I don't think that hurdle exists anymore, but we'll see for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about Vanderbilt a lot more next week, but we're worried about Florida this week.
Right.
All about the ugly trash lizards from in the swamp. So let's talk about. Do you have anything else you kind of want to mention about this weekend or the midweek game or anything like that?
Love beating Bama. That's
nice, man. It's
wrapped up.
I'm glad we have one team on campus that's able to do it.
Yeah, once in my lifetime. I love seeing we have a better team than Alabama in something.
Yep, absolutely. So going into Florida, I think this is the best team talent wise that Tennessee's played up to this point. I don't really think there's any real debate about that. Maybe Alabama, if they get their ace back, maybe they have a say in that. Maybe LSU, if they get a little bit more experience. But I think Florida has the talent to beat anybody on any given day. Now they've been really inconsistent. They lost the first series to Miami, which is another really good baseball team, but they dropped that series to start off the year. South Carolina, they got swept, and they went and swept Texas A&M and then beat Ole Miss, who is, probably a top 5 team in the country too. So I think this will be a real challenge, but I'm excited to see the atmosphere. And, I'm excited to see what this team does against, this. God, I just hate Florida and everything.
Oh, we're talking about Bama, Vandy, Kentucky, South Carolina, anybody, but
what a stretch to play like the worst team, like not baseball wise, but like the worst fans, like the fan base is possible. And a 3 week span.
I hate Florida. I mean, there's just nothing positive I can say about Florida. Anytime I think about it, I kind of just cringe. I just don't. I don't vibe with Florida. I just don't do it. I've met like maybe one Florida fan in my life that was a little bit. I could stand them. I just can't stand them at all.
Yeah, royal blue and orange just don't go together. It's just gross. And Gainesville stinks. And if you live in Gainesville, I'm sorry, but that's just a fact. Like your football stadium caught on fire because like it just stinks so bad. I think it was a dumpster fire. It literally was a dumpster fire.
Oh, can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine if that happened in Neyland? Not even trying to move to football, but just like, can you imagine the jokes that would come from that? I mean, probably well earned. I mean, we've earned those jokes over the last 15 years now. But yeah, I mean it.
Yeah, but now we got baseball to fall back on. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we got. Do you have anything else you want to mention?
No, I mean top 10 series. If you can't get excited for this one, I mean, I know Tony will have the boys ready to go, but if you can't get up for a series like this in college baseball, God, I wish we had full stadium. It would be rocking this weekend. Just ready to get back to full capacity.
Yeah, if you're able to go, please go this weekend. Check that out. Tennessee will be on the SEC Network on Saturday. So if you're not able to watch it on an app or SEC Network Plus, they will be on national television on Saturday. So go check that out. Go Vols. We got one final save from our good friends at Blue Water Climate Control, but I hope you all have a good week.
We are Blue Water Climate Control. From heating and AC installation and repair, commercial or residential, when you choose Blue Water Climate Control, we offer solutions, not a sales pitch. Blue Water Climate Control. Veteran-owned, superior service.
Thanks, guys. Go